welcome back to another Blender tutorial. In this video, we are going to be making the chassis for the robot that we are making. So first of all, what we're going to do is press Shift A and add in a cube. And then we're going to press /, so that way all we're seeing is just a cube. So basically what we're going to be making is a chassis for a robot from that looks like it came from the first robotic competition. And if you don't know what that is, then go check that out. We are a team participating there, and we build robots with this style of chassis a lot. So what we're going to do is just scale down the cube because it's pretty big. And I'm just going to press the period or delete on my number pad, and that'll just kind of zoom in. And then I'm going to scale it on the x-axis to about there. So that's pretty good. Maybe a little more. So then what we're going to do is then go into edit mode. I'm just going to go ahead and use face select and just grab these edges, pull them out. Probably just could have scaled it out without going to edit mode, but that's okay. Loop cut by pressing Ctrl R, and then I'm going to press S and then Y and scale it on the Y to about there. And I'm just going to go to top view, and I want to scale it out or in so that it makes a square. That way we know that this side is going to be as long as this side. So now what we're going to do is just take this. I made it a little too wide, so I'm going to grab this and move it 0.5 to 0.25 on the Y. And then over here, I'm going to grab it on the Y and do negative 0.25. There we go. So that way we don't have to worry about everything messing up if we scale it or anything. So that should be good. Oops, wrong buttons. Okay, so basically I turned on X-ray mode to be able to get all the vertices, and I just forgot to turn it off, so make sure you turn that off. So next what we're going to do is extrude outwards to about there. And this is a pretty tall chassis, so I'm just going to shrink it down to about here. And next I'm going to add 2 loop cuts here. And I'm going to scale it on the Z and move it to about here. And then I'm just going to select this edge, this face right here. I'm going to hold down shift and select this, and then the ones on the bottom too. So I'm just going to select all of those, and that should be good. So now I'm going to extrude them, pressing E, and I'm going to scale them in. So I need to press S and then Shift Z. That way they don't shrink up and down. So I'm just going to scale it to about here. Here's pretty good. So then I'm going to go into Edge Select. I'm going to select these front edges here. And I'm just going to go into the side view. And I'm going to turn on this right here, wireframe, so that way we can see everything behind the objects. And I'm just going to move it until it's completely flush right there. Just make sure, if you want to make sure completely, then you can zoom in as much as you want. But you really don't need to do much more. So that's looking good here. Exit out of wireframe back to the default. And here we go, we have a basic chassis. Now we want to put some supports down. So I'm just going to add in another cube, shrink it down the Z to about there, shrink it on the X, and I'm just going to, that's still too tall, so I'm just going to bring it down, scale it out on the Y so that it is able to overlap these, and then just make it so that it's sitting just on top. So like that, that's good. And then I'm going to go to my modifiers. I'm going to add a modifier, and I'm going to add an array modifier. So what this is basically doing is it's taking the object and making an array of it. So it's pretty self-explanatory, as a lot of things can be, and a lot of things are not always self-explanatory, but hopefully we'll be getting to those in future episodes. But for now, we're just going to stick with this, and I'm just going to move the relative offset to about here. I'm going to change the count to 3, so that looks good, and I'm going to just go ahead and press apply. So now I'm just going to press / again to go back here, and this axle is pretty big, so I'm just going to scale it down, rotate 90 degrees, negative on the x-axis. You could do it positive, it doesn't matter, because we're just basically going to be having the same on each side. So what we're going to do now is we're going to pull the wheel over, and then pull the wheel down and in. And I'm just going to duplicate the wheels a few times. Sorry. You have to select all of them, all of the objects that are part of the wheel, and you're just going to duplicate, and then duplicate once more. That's looking good. So now I'm just going to select all of these wheels. I'm going to duplicate them and move them on the y-axis. And I'm going to rotate them 180 degrees on the z. And that still looks good. And I'm just going to move them in on the y again. And that looks pretty even. So there we go. We have some wheels on a robot. However, we have a little problem when we rotated. Some stuff got mixed up or messed up. So we're just going to try and even that out. It doesn't need to be perfect. Just as long as it looks right, it should be good. This grid here can be helpful to make sure everything's where it's supposed to be. So I'm just going to use that by seeing this grid edge is towards the end here, and the grid edge is towards the end here. So that should be good. And yeah, that's looking pretty good. That can go here, and that can go there, and there we go. So now what we have to do is we have to take these panels here, just go ahead and call them panels, and we're going to take this cube here, the chassis, and we're going to call it chassis. And then all of these parts that are sticking out of the axles, I'm just going to select all the axles, go into edit mode, select all of their faces, and since they're all rotated the same way, all we gotta do is press S and scale on the Y, and we can scale them inwards and it should be good. Except we used that edge loop stuff last time, so I'm gonna have to go into X-ray mode and just go ahead and select all of that there, and there we go. That's looking better. And then scale on the Y. I forgot to hold down shift. Oh gosh. Hold down shift. There we go. Now we can scale on the Y. And that's looking good there. And I'm just going to go ahead and take all these axles here. You can really call them that. I guess they're not really axles. And I'm going to take a chassis and I'm going to parent to that object. Same with the panels, parent to the chassis, and there we go. And it still should keep its parenting, so if you want to move a wheel, you can move that without having to select all the pieces. But yeah, that's going to be it for now. Just go ahead and save, and I'll see you in the next one.